I thought my fiancée's lifestyle was just social media fame, but when I discovered her secret Dubai escapes, I realized everything was a lie. I, 32M, remember the first time I saw her in person. The way she smiled at me, like she had all the time in the world, but at the same time, like she had somewhere important to be. I thought that smile was just for me, but I was wrong. It wasn't until later that I realized she had that smile for everyone. When we first started dating, I had no idea what I was getting into. She wasn't famous, but she had a following. A small one at first, then it grew. I watched her go from 5K to 50K followers in a matter of months. A lot of it was thanks to her Instagram, her lifestyle posts, and sponsored ads. It was all so new to me, and honestly, I thought it was cute. I didn't understand it at first, but I liked seeing her happy. But there was one thing that always bugged me: the secrecy. It wasn't like she hid things from me, but I always had the feeling she was withholding parts of herself, her life. It wasn't anything major, not at first. But over time, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. She'd be gone for weekends, sometimes even weeks, and when I asked where she was, she'd tell me she was at work or business meetings. She'd speak cryptically about her trips, never revealing specifics. She'd always leave with her bags packed, looking more like a jet setter than someone running a small online business. I tried not to think too much of it, but something in my gut told me it wasn't just business. One evening, I decided to surprise her. She'd been on a trip for about a week, and I'd gotten tired of the vague answers about what she was up to. I figured, if I showed up at her place unannounced, I might find something useful. I didn't expect to catch her in the act. I parked a few blocks away and walked the short distance to her apartment. When I reached her door, I froze. I saw her talking through the window, her back to the glass. I couldn't hear her voice, but I could tell she wasn't alone. A man stood beside her, too close for comfort. He was wearing a black shirt and had a dark complexion, but there was something familiar about him. I couldn't place it. My heart started pounding in my chest. I stepped back, hiding behind the corner of the building, trying to keep my breath steady. The man leaned in closer, and for a moment, I thought they might kiss. They didn't. Instead, he handed her something wrapped in a white cloth, and she took it without hesitation. It didn't look like something that should be hidden, but the way she took it from him so quickly made it clear she didn't want anyone to know. I felt my stomach drop. The guy said something and left, and she went inside without even looking around, as if everything was normal. I didn't move for a few minutes, just standing there, processing what I had just seen. Was it possible she was seeing someone else? Or was this some shady business deal? I didn't have answers, only more questions. The next few days were an endless loop of second-guessing myself. I didn't confront her, at least not directly. I couldn't bring myself to do it. So, I did what I thought would give me the answers I needed. I started snooping. I went through her texts. She was careful with her phone, but sometimes she'd leave it lying around, unlocked. That's when I found it. The message threads, hidden in a folder she clearly forgot to lock. The same man from the apartment. His messages were casual at first, but then I saw the trips. Dubai. Not just one, but multiple. The flights, the hotel bookings, and the cryptic business meetings she always mentioned. I sat there, reading through the entire conversation. There was no mention of romance, at least not overtly. But there was a lot of talk about her commitment to the brand. She spoke about Dubai like it was her second home. She'd flown out there at least 3 times in the last year alone, but each time she'd been so careful not to let me in on the details. She'd always been vague about it, telling me that work came first and that I wouldn't understand the demands of her influencer life. But now, it was starting to make sense. She wasn't just an influencer. She was someone who was playing a much bigger game than I could have ever imagined. I confronted her that night. She came home late, like always, but this time, I wasn't waiting to ask about her day. I was ready to get answers. "I need to ask you something," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her face immediately tightened. "What's wrong?" "I saw something the other day," I said, letting the words hang between us. "You're going to Dubai a lot." She blinked, looking caught off guard. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb. I know about the trips. I know about him, too." Her eyes shifted quickly, and I saw the defensive walls go up. "It's not what you think." I didn't let her off the hook. "Then what is it? Who is he?" She took a long breath, her hands shaking as she set her purse down. "He's not what you think. He's a business partner." "A business partner?" I echoed, incredulity flooding my voice. "A business partner who hands you wrapped-up packages and whispers in your ear." She winced. "It's not like that. You wouldn't understand. I'm doing this for us, for our future. For us." I shot back. "What kind of future? And who else is involved in this business of yours?" She was quiet for a long moment. Her eyes were locked on the floor, and I could tell she was struggling to find the right words. "I'm doing what I need to do. You don't know what it's like in this world. People rely on me, and I can't just turn away from it." I thought you'd understand, but I guess I was wrong. I stared at her, speechless. I felt a mix of confusion, hurt, and anger coursing through me. She wasn't telling me everything. I knew that. There were still so many questions that lingered. And then came the twist. I didn't want you to know, she said, almost in a whisper. But there's something I need to tell you. I waited, but didn't speak. I'm leaving, she said, her voice barely audible. My heart stopped. What? I'm leaving, she repeated. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I've realized something. This life, all the traveling, the secrets, it's not going to work. I can't keep living this double life. You deserve someone who isn't hiding things from you. It hit me like a punch to the gut. The woman I thought I knew, the one I thought I loved, was leaving. She didn't even look upset, not really. Just resigned. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I thought I could keep this going, but I can't. With that, she walked out the door. No explanation. No further words. Just the sound of the door closing behind her. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to process everything. My mind was a whirlwind of disbelief. But one thing stood clear. I didn't know her at all. And now, I had to face the reality of being alone. Update 1 asterisk. A few weeks have passed since the breakup. She's still posting on social media, doing her thing, but I've stopped following her. I don't want to know about her life anymore. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happened, but I've learned something important. You can't truly know someone if they're not willing to share the truth with you. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, people will always have parts of themselves they'll never let you see. As for me, I'm moving on. One day at a time. Update 2 asterisk. A few more weeks passed before I received a message. It was from her. I hadn't expected it, but I felt a strange mix of relief and curiosity. She was reaching out again, but the message was short. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I hope one day you'll understand. I've started over. She didn't explain anything, just a brief acknowledgement of what happened. But there was something in her words that made me feel like she knew I wasn't going to understand. Like I was just another chapter in her carefully curated life. I didn't respond. I don't know if I ever will. It's funny, you think you know someone until the truth comes out in the most unexpected ways. For now, I'm content with my decision to let her go. She wasn't who I thought she was, and maybe that's the only truth I needed to face.